Good evening, everyone. How are you? How are you doing? Now, there is something that I want us to share and talk about. If your children are more of a burden to you than they are of a blessing to you, then something's wrong. The Bible says that children are a blessing to us. Children are meant to be a blessing to us. So one, if they are a burden to you, then something's wrong. If your children are a regret, if you regret having your children, then something's wrong. If in some way or certain way you find your children as a regret, if you ever regret in your life for having children, then again something's wrong. If in any kind of circumstance you develop a feeling of regretting you having children, again something's wrong. The Bible says that children are a blessing from God. Meaning children as a package, they are meant to be a blessing to you. Children are not supposed or are not meant to fix you. Children are not meant to fix your financial life. They are not there to fix your marriage life. They're not even there to fix your career life. They, in their formation, in their creation, as a gift, they are meant to be a blessing to you. Now, if you are trying to make your children fix your life in any way, you could be trying to make them fix your career life. You may try to make them fix your marriage life. You may try to make them fix your social life. You may try to make them fix you in any way. Now, that's how burdens are born. That's when you cease to see your children as a blessing, and then they become a burden to you. Every child, every person, every kid is born with a gift. Every individual that has life is born with a certain ability. Unless you get to a point of understanding their abilities, you will never be able to dig out, you'll never be able to mine out a blessing, because even though children are a blessing to you, even though they are a blessing to us, even though they are meant to be a blessing to parents, even though they are meant to be blessings to their family, you must know how to mine, you must know how to you must know how to dig out a blessing that is in your children. You must understand, you must have that wisdom. Now, unless you have that wisdom, unless you understand the patterns, unless you understand how you connect to that blessing in your child, you will never ever be able to test out the blessing in your kid. Let me give you an example. Many of us, I inclusive, there are many things that we ever wanted to achieve in life. And probably some we have managed to achieve, some we haven't. And many of us assume or have a mindset that the moment I have my children, they'll be able to achieve what I couldn't. Many of us have that mindset. Many of you, there are some wanted to be doctors, some wanted to be pilots, some wanted to be politicians, and unfortunately they didn't make it in life. They were not able to achieve that particular goal they wanted. Now you assume in your mind, you assume in your heart that what you could not finish or what you could not handle, your children will be able to. Now that is not, it is not 100% wrong, but again, it is catastrophic. Remember, because I told you, every child is born as a whole package. These are holistic individuals. Just like you were born with what you think, with your abilities, with your strengths and weaknesses. Every child too is born with weaknesses and then strength. If you try to impart or make a child do something that they were not given the ability to do, if you try to force your child into, joining a music school when they are not music or nature, or when they don't have that gift, you live your whole life regretting for having a curse than a blessing. If you try to force your child to achieve a certain goal, to achieve a certain milestone that you are not able to achieve in life, and unfortunately, what you are trying to make them achieve is not what they carry. Amongst the gifts, amongst the talents that God gave them, that which you want them to achieve is not part of them. You will live the rest of your life looking at your child, looking at that boy, looking at that girl, like a curse more than a blessing. The Bible says that children are a blessing to you. Children are a blessing to us. Now, unless you understand how to connect, how to prune, how to water, how to cultivate that blessing that is hidden, that is embedded in your son, that is embedded in your child, you will never be able to taste of it. You will never be able to see the fullness, the full potential. You will never be able to see what these kids or what your son or your daughter is actually able to achieve in life. You will never be able to actually carry that gladdened heart, because the Bible says that children are a blessing, meaning they are supposed to come to you not as problem solvers. No. Children are not supposed to solve your problems. They are not supposed to fix you. No. Just like we're not supposed to fix them, because they come as a complete package. They're just broken by things they meet along the way, by things they encounter, by groups, by all these influences and negative energies around them. But they are not supposed to be fixed by you either. They're not supposed to fix you too. They're supposed to be a blessing to you. But like I've said, unless you understand how to connect to that blessing, unless you understand how to help them, nurture them, prune them, you will never be able to see that. Now, if you're in a situation where your children have turned into a curse than a blessing, if you're in a situation where your children have turned into a burden than a blessing, many of us have children, but instead of living life to the fullest with our children, we see them as burdens because of school fees. We see them as burdens because of tuition. We see them as burdens because of food. We see them as burdens because of clothing. But all these things, every kid that God gives you, He provides for. Every child that God gives to you, He provides for. Now, the problem or the issue as to why you are not able to connect to that blessing, the issue as to why you're not able to connect to that provision that comes with every kid, that comes because the Bible said that He knew us even before you were born. Meaning before you even conceive, before conception takes place, God has already ordained and prepared greatness for your kid. He has already prepared a destiny. The Bible said that He predestined us for victory. Every child is predestined for victory. The only reason they're not connecting that is because they were born by a parent who is indifferent. They were born by a parent who is short-sighted, who is not able, because as a mother or as a father, you're supposed to see beyond what your son or daughter is able to see. You're supposed to understand life at a higher level. You're supposed to be able to interpret life on a different scale. Unless you are able to do that, you will never be able to be of help to your child. And because you will never be able to be of help to your child or your son or your daughter, it means you will never also be able at all to cultivate or taste of the blessing that is hidden in your child, to taste of the blessing that is embedded in that kid before you have children, before you even conceive the idea of having kids. Much as it's a blessing, but it will never be a blessing if you're not ready. And I'm not talking about monetary, I'm not talking about money. Because many of you have money, you have enough money, but even though you have money, you are actually not ready to be a parent. Even though you have a very big job, you are not ready to be a parent. Why? Because you don't carry enough wisdom. You don't carry enough understanding of what parenting is. The Bible said that train up a child in the way they should go. Unless you understand where they're supposed to go, you will never be able to train a child in the way they should go. You cannot train someone to go into something you yourself have no clue about. You'll never be able to train someone into becoming somebody you yourself do not know. The only way you can train up your child to go in the way that they should go, like the Bible says, it's because of one thing. You yourself should know where you're supposed to go. You yourself should know where you want to see your children in the future. Unless you have that understanding, you will never be able to train them in the way they should go. And because you'll never be able to train them in the way they should go, you will never be able to see the blessing that God put in them, to see the power that God put in them, to bring out the greatness that is embedded or hidden within them, to see all the wisdoms, to see all the understanding, to see many children are carrying wisdoms that are able to change this world like nothing, like the world has never seen before. But all that lies on the shoulders of the parents. The only way you're going to be able to train your children in the way they should do is if you yourself, you know where they are supposed to go. You cannot teach your children what gender they are unless you know. You cannot. So everything is laid down by principle in the spirit and in the physical over the parents' shoulders to train the children that they should go. Unless you are able to do that, you'll never see that blessing, which the Bible says that they are a blessing to us.